I brought someone into my vision because she admired what I was building. That was my mistake. Not because she was a bad person, but because I confused admiration for readiness. And those are not the same thing. Welcome, everyone. I'm Latoya Deshawn, liberation strategist, helping high achieving, emotionally aware women stop abandoning themselves and performing for people who don't matter and start living in self possession rooted in their God given identity. Now, I want to talk about the story a little bit in Botswana with my co-founder, who is no longer a co-founder. Pretty much, I met her when I first went to Botswana, or the second time, but the first time I went to build my business, I was doing a personal development workshop for which she attended. And then she also attended the next year, in which she won the raffle to get 6 months of personal coaching with me. It was pretty much around strategic planning. And so it was a really great relationship. We had a lot in common from us both being entrepreneurs in the beauty industry, both very much faith rooted, and we even had healthcare challenges. And so it was a beautiful like relationship where I felt that she really respected me and I respected her. So it was very natural that when I kept on telling her that I'm looking to build this business in Botswana so to really help beauty professionals, that she decided that she wanted to be a part of it as well because she had her own goals and desires for the beauty industry as well. So she came to me and said, I want to build this with you. Of course, no questions asked. I'm ecstatic about it. Let's do this. And so, in doing this, I immediately start to set up the meetings that we need to have to begin to formalize the business and go through the proper steps to actually register it as a nonprofit. So in my mind, it was all good. I'm setting the meetings, I'm setting the agenda, I'm letting her know what I need from her so that this is very much our thing and not just mine. And so I began to see a few problems along the way. One where she just was never working at the same pace as me, to the point where I even had to call Botswana, use my American phone to call into Botswana to call the office of where we were getting it registered when she was right there, right? Remember, I also really wanted her because she was a local and she would be someone who would be on the ground. And so when I had to call someone, that was a bit of a red flag to me. And then what really came down to it was when we got the actual certificate, I was so ecstatic. I had went through a month of registering. I had went through 4 rejections up in the middle of the night, like I said, calling over to Botswana, sending emails. And I realized the way in which we both reacted to that was incredibly different. Whereas I was so ecstatic about this, she was just kind of regular. And so I knew that was like the second red flag to me. And then she decided she needed to take a break from the business. So as I was trying to set up another meeting to get certain materials from her, she's like, I just can't do it. And so she pretty much abandoned me in the business for about 3 to 4 months. And so in that time, I got to think about this actual partnership, but I wanted to wait until we spoke again. And so we did speak about 4 months later, to which she got on the call and she said some not so nice things, like I was treating her like she was a child in the business, which I believe that's just how she felt. And then she also ended the call by saying, well, at least I called you. And so I looked at that as very performative. And so I knew because I've been doing my personal development work, I knew that like I had to switch the dynamics of this pretty much end our relationship, our working relationship and our entire relationship because there was no alignment. And part of that is my fault because I didn't do the discernment that I should have done. And so this leads me to how I'm helping you guys. And so the question is, how do you actually know the difference between someone who admires you and someone who is ready to go where you're going? So here are 4 ways to recognize it. And so the first way is this is what admiration actually looks like. Admiration shows up warm. It looks like someone who celebrates your wins, engages in your content, tell you how much you inspire them. They're pretty much like your one of your fans, right? They really are a supporter of you. And we feel like it's alignment because the energy is positive. But admiration is observational. It's watching from a comfortable distance. And the key word there is comfortable because admiration doesn't cost anything. It doesn't require someone to show up or take ownership or do the hard things alongside you. They pretty much are a fan from the sidelines. Second is what readiness actually requires. And readiness is different. Readiness shows up in like unsexy moments, like when there's no applause, no certificate, no milestone. It shows up when something needs to get done and nobody asks them to do it. It shows up when they take initiative without being led, when they bring solutions instead of waiting for directions. Like readiness has a track record, admiration just has good intentions. And that's wild because that's exactly how I would describe the relationship that we ended up having. Like, third, where women make this mistake in business and friendships and in relationships and dating. So in business, we bring people into our vision because they're enthusiastic, because they said yes, because the energy felt right. And we call that alignment. In friendships, we keep people close because they've always been there, because history feels like loyalty, but longevity is not the same as alignment either. In dating, we stay because he admires who we are. He thinks we're amazing, but admiration without the capacity to meet us or challenge us and grow alongside us is just flattery on an expiration date. Ladies, you know what I'm talking about there. The pattern is always the same. We feel seen by someone's admiration and we mistake that feeling for a sign that they're ready to go where we're going, but they are not. Lastly, the cost of not knowing the difference, right? You end up carrying people who were only meant to cheer for you. You overextend trying to bring them up to speed. You shrink your pace so they can keep up. You do their part because it's easier than confronting the gap. And then one day you realize you've been leading and carrying, and those are not the same thing. The cost wasn't just time. It was a version of yourself you compromised to maintain a dynamic that was never equal to begin with. I know that that's hard to hear, and you might have to come to terms with that, but it's true. So, where in your life are you treating someone's admiration like alignment? Where are you bringing people into your vision who haven't proven they can carry the weight? Because it's not just business. Think about your friendships. Who have you kept close simply because they're always been there, not because they've proven they can show up for you or who you're becoming? Think about your relationships. Who are you holding on to because they think you're amazing, but haven't demonstrated that they can actually meet you where you're going? Think about your team, your collaborators, your inner circle. Who got access to your vision because they were enthusiastic, not because they had a track record? Admiration feels good. It feels like being seen. And when you spent a long time being chosen, someone's admiration can feel like enough, but it's not alignment. And deep down, you already know the difference. The question isn't whether they admire you. The question is, can they carry weight when there's no applause? Can they show up when it's inconvenient? Can they match the pace that it requires? Because if the answer is no, then you have to stop bringing them into spaces that require a yes. That's a word right there, y'all. You don't have to cut everyone off, but you do have to stop letting admiration masquerade as readiness. Because every time you do, you end up carrying someone who was only ever meant to cheer for you. And that's not their fault. That's information you chose to ignore. So, in conclusion, right, proximity is not alignment, admiration is not readiness. And until you know the difference, you'll keep carrying people who were only ever meant to cheer from the stands. If you want to read more, if you want to like feel more of this, the full story is in this week's newsletter. There's a link in my bio. Also, if you need more help, you need someone to talk to, I do offer private coaching. But you don't have to exist in this space anymore. You make better decisions by discerning who the person it is, not just settling for them, their admiration for you, but really looking at, are we aligned? Okay. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next video.